Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. Representative Henry, what is a public school? Is it a building where students are currently attending, or could it be a public school that is sitting vacant, waiting to be closed, or no longer occupied? And would you accept an amendment to your bill that I co-sponsored with you to define what a public school is?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to work up an amendment that basically says that your bill would only stand if that school is actively being used by students.
There was some concern early on that whether or not that meant like a university, but we had clarification that public school is a reference to K through 12.
Yeah.
So however you want to word that
Okay.
amendment,
I'll go and try to,
because we're not talking about a school that's closed. We're talking about where there are kids that are actively driving past every day whose parents are having to deal with
It's closed.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
that
Speaker.
school is closed.
Chair recognizes Mr. Martin Chilton.
The one that's closed until the beginning of next year.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the
So
recognition.
here, we'll give you a couple
Mr.
months.
Henry, will you yield?
Yes, sir.
I think
Don't leave me alone.
well, he's been a pain for many years down here. I think really the main thing we need to do is make it easier on the adoption end of it.
Amen.
I have a very, very dear
Extra to
friend
abortion.
that has already been to court about a half a dozen times and having to hire an attorney to go to court with them and then turn right around and pay for advertisement about the child, and now they've got to wait a year before they can file adoption papers. Well, if something happens in that year's time, of course they've gotten totally attached to this child now in 3 months. But I just don't, I think it should be corrected as far as the law is concerned on the adoption end of it, and not making it so hard and so expensive.
Amen.
Because, you know, a lot of these attorneys like to charge pretty good sums, you know. What's your profession?
These days I'm in the medical field, and
Are
I'm
you?
not an attorney.
Okay, well, anyway, that's kind of like me. I'm beyond the medical field.
Yeah, they come to you when my resources run out.
Exactly. But anyway, I think, I support your bill, but I still don't think it goes far enough, because I think something needs to be done as far as these young people and their attempts to adopt, because it makes it so hard for young people to adopt a child and have to go through the process that they do and get attached, and they may lose the child. And I just wish we could do something with these.
I've made a commitment to Representative Todd that I will absolutely engage in that, and I think between us we can all come to some conclusion as to alleviate the problems, because there's several of them. And one of them is the fact that if you adopt within the states, then at any given time that parent may come back and decide they want back in the life of that child. And we've got to start dealing with a lot of these things. So I'm with you.
Okay, and if there's anything, when you start working on this, if there's anything I can do, you let me know. I'll be more than happy to do anything I can. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Gentleman, Chair recognizes the lady from Madison, Ms. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But the gentleman here,
Yes, ma'am.
I left my amendment. Before I get to my amendment, I love the fact that you are willing to bring it to me. That means I'm headed for trouble, but I appreciate it. There is
Always friends.
Let me say, this says, on the existing law, no provision of law expressly provides comprehensive standards for abortion clinics licensed by Alabama Department of Public Health operating in close proximity to public schools. What does that mean? no provision for comprehensive standards. I thought we
That's
adopted.
the not.
Yes, I got it.
But the LRS puts on,
You're saying they didn't do a good job.
well, so it's, I think they're talking about there's no comprehensive standards for locations or zoning in current law.
So then I would amend that and say for location, but you know, they didn't nobody. I'm just saying that talks about standards, and if I recall, we did adopt what we consider standards for centuries.
You're right, the Women's Health and Safety Act.
Right, and in that adoption, I am familiar with an office that's in Huntsville that was originally downtown where there were protests. After we passed that bill, that particular owner of that office bought another office which met the standards.
For the internal, because that was mostly what that bill dealt with, was
The internal
always had to be so wide, yeah.
And the hallway had to be, the hospital, met all of those standards. Now, as soon as that doctor moved in, that clinic moved in, that was a clinic that was purchased for the purpose of, and I don't see that. When it was downtown, my doctor, my OB/GYN was in that clinic, and I worried about him every day. Every time I went there, I used to tell him, I worried about him being at that clinic, at that office, because people thought that was all that was going on everywhere. Well, you know, at my age, that certainly wasn't what I was going in there for. I was going in there for what services I did. I think you should chuckle at that after that. But my point is this particular owner moved his office to meet what we required. Now we're saying because it is near a school that it cannot exist. And I am thinking, it's not, and I have watched because my campaign headquarters was next door to this office.
Where it used to be?
Where it was where he moved to this past
the
summer.
current, where it is current.
Right.
Gotcha.
And you know what I said about the owner? I thought he was the most kindest, compassionate individual I knew. Because some of the things I saw happening outside there, it would have been easy to be very ugly. Never did I hear, and I can't ever say I've heard from anyone that individual has been disparaging against anybody on his property. Not on the street, on his property. And I think that is so unfortunate that would have to happen to someone who's met all of the criteria. But here we are today saying, you know, that they will not be issued or renewed a license. It makes no sense. And since it makes no sense, I have an amendment. And what this amendment does on page 2.
All right, so we need to adopt the VIR before we can offer an amendment. All right. Are you done? We'll go ahead and take the VIR vote. All right, the question now is adoption of the VIR for House Bill 527. If you're in favor of that motion, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote no. The clerk will lock the machine. Members will vote. All members voted. The clerk will lock the machine and record the vote. There's 71 ayes, 24 nays. The VIR is adopted. Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, I ask for final passage.
All right, let's recognize Ms. Hall of Madison. All right.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Clerk, proceed the amendment.
Amendment to House Bill number 527 by Representative Hall.
On page 2, it would just create a new section that would say, the Alabama Department of Public Health shall not refuse to renew the health center license to an abortion center or reproductive health center solely upon the basis that it's located within 2,000 feet of the property campus. And so what that does is that it allows that individual who's presently there that they would not be refused an opportunity to reopen or be renewed because it is, because of this, bill?
Yes, the problem is as we move through and we start to see how things are happening, and we may have, like last year we did the Women's Health and Safety Act, and there have been other instances now where we have other problems in the community, and it's the kids that are being exposed to this part of life that they really don't need to be exposed to at 4, 5, 6 years old. And I, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know that grandfathering one in will really benefit those children. And with that, I know we've talked and...
Would you hear for a second?
Yes, ma'am.
That school, where I'm talking about in Huntsville, is a middle school.
Middle school. So you've got...
So, but my point is if you really come to that middle school, the only time you ever get evidence of anybody out there would be if they are protesting in a loving, compassionate manner. That's okay. That's not what happens. There is a person presently that I see with a camera on the other side, camera on people going in. Now, I think that's fine to protest, but to capture somebody's picture going in there, my girlfriend and I planned to go in back there with the gun. I want to get my picture going in. Okay, but I'm just saying, the issue is not where the location is as much as it is about the protest. And
well, and I get that, but I don't feel comfortable excluding anybody. I still think it's a bad thing for kids to have to witness. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make a motion to lay the amendment on the table.
All right, members, Ms. Hall has offered an amendment. She has moved for its adoption, and the gentleman, Mr. Henry, now moves to lay that amendment on the table. If you're in favor of the tabling motion, your vote is aye. If you're opposed, your vote is no. The clerk will lock the machine, and the members will vote. All the members voted. The clerk will lock the machine, report the vote 66 ayes, 30 nays, and the amendment is laid upon the table. Mr. Henry.
With that, Mr. Speaker, I ask move for final passage.
All right, the motion's final passage. Here recognized is a gentleman from Madison, Mr. Williams P.
I don't think we've seen it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Henry, I've got an amendment that I would like to propose that defines what a public school is.
All right, clerk, receive the amendment.
Amendment House Bill number 527 by Representative Williams.
And I will read it. It's 4 lines. A public school, as defined in this act, is any building that is currently operational for the intent purpose of educating and instructing students. A public school should not be defined as any college or university.
And I'm fine with that. I'm agreeable to that amendment.
All right, Mr. Williams P. has offered an amendment. He moves for its adoption. The gentleman introduced the first amendment. Any questions of Mr. Williams P. on his amendment? Ms. Moore M. on the amendment by Mr. Williams P.
Thank you, what happened if it's a private school? Is it just a public school?
This is for public schools.
But it wouldn't matter, I mean, if it was a private school? When those students...
My amendment only defines a public school as an operational facility for the intent purpose of instructing public school students.
Well, I was going to speak on the bill too itself because it's only talking about a public school, but other school children would be affected the same way. You know what I mean? It was a private school, church school, or whatever that was located there. That's I'm concerned about your amendment because it doesn't protect the other schools.
Mine is focused on public schools.
And that's it.